Hey, you know that game you hitched your wagon to? Yeah, you gotta come take a look at this. Welcome everyone, this is Dad Joke Cinema. I've been away at the beach this week, and while I relaxed to the constant sound of waves beating against the shore, a group of people were constantly beating the drums on Reddit and in the Palia Discord. If you don't frequent those places, perhaps if you are one of the last surviving humans on the social media network formerly known as Twitter, or you're hanging out with my mom over on Facebook, you might think that people are enjoying playing and streaming the cozy life sim MMO Palia. So what's it like on the official channels?
That's the old passage to Ravenholm. We don't go there anymore.
In this Paleo Weekly update, I'll take a look at what's causing this angry surge of comments, what the reaction has been, and what I think Singularity 6 can do to respond to it going forward. First and foremost, the servers seem to have been stable and functional, with no notifications of downtimes to fix server issues in the past week. We did have two maintenance windows, one for the first content patch, which I said would be coming in the last video, and one for the hotfix to correct a few of the issues that cropped up in that patch. And let's go ahead and talk about that patch, and then we'll get to the madness, I promise. The first content patch was released on the 15th, bringing the game to version 0.166. The patch added a quest that comes after the whole Shep stage, as well as adding some found item quests. They also changed the spawn rates of several items, giving you a lot more clay, fewer forageables, fewer insects, and reducing the density of animals that spawn in groups in Kilima. Over in Bahari Bay, a number of things were adjusted, with the key points being beach forage reduced and iron moderately increased. S6 removed a few gold farming techniques, including the high quality fish spawns at the mayor's house. Some quality of life improvements got popped in there, like the ability to rotate the top-down view in your housing lot, something I've been asking for a long time. Animation canceling was in the game in the sense that you could technically do it if you were not a filthy low-skill casual like myself. It was added in a more official sense with full support in the patch. Bug fixes include the lockbox storage bug, server syncing, and the oft-reported issue of not being able to pick up your tent because you once placed a single candle in it back in 2018. And nothing else was added, and there was no controversy. What? I've been informed that there was, in fact, some controversy. There have been, in my experience, three major areas of disagreement and conflict about the game. One is the somewhat subjective question of whether or not the game qualifies as a MMO, and I'll have a video about that in the future. The second is potential exploits and cheats that I'll cover in a minute, and the third is the game's monetization. I've already gone over this in two videos, but everyone wants to keep talking about it, so I will too. One of the major complaints about the premium cosmetics shop was the inaccurate display of bundle pricing. According to S6, the company wants users to have a discount anytime they buy more than one pattern for a premium outfit, but there was no wording or other indication that that was actually the case. You had to buy something to find out that the discount was persistent. Players all over the place pointed out that someone might think that they had to buy the bundle up front, which is bad, the way you have to in so many other shops. On Reddit and in the official Discord, I saw many people say that this was an issue that had to be addressed immediately. Some suggested that the way the discount was structured was illegal in parts of the world and that this would be the end of Palia and Singularity 6. So it was a bit surprising when a hotfix was released to change the display of bundle pricing 2 days after my video about the shop, and I saw some people upset that the cash shop had been updated when there were still issues and bugs in the game. Another concern with the store was the fact that items were priced too high. I'm among those who would like a wider variety in the items and accessories you can purchase, and I think it would be nice to have lower priced items so that more people would be able to justify purchasing them. So I was happy when the latest patch came out and Singularity 6 announced the first implementation of pets in the game would be a cat that goes to people who support the game. Now, it might be a good idea to clarify what is meant by support here. Playing a free-to-play game is not supporting it. Going on a Discord and talking about what you like and don't like about a game is not supporting it. They are good things for the game, yes, absolutely, but they are talking about financial support here. They are thanking the people who have put money into the game. If you buy any bundle of Palia coins, you get a little cat. And if you cumulatively buy like $30 of coins, you get more cat. And before you say it, yes, I know, I'm aware of the first argument that comes up. My 8-year-old daughter immediately said, "How did they put in cats before beards?" And you know what? I am with you on that 100%. They said they wanted to have this bonus in with the beta launch, but they didn't quite get there, so the idea that they're focusing on adding things to the cash shop and not dealing with other pressing issues doesn't really hold water here. And these issues that I'm talking about, to be clear, aren't about the gameplay itself or the quantity or quality of stuff to do in the game. I'm focused on the external focuses of conversation right now. Of course, I hope that like with earnable outfits for skill progression, there will be earnable pets in-game with some of the functionality for interacting with the pets that was data mined in the past. Oh, and that sure leads me to another topic. This one, I'm going to be careful around discussing, and one that I'm glad that I waited a bit to respond to. In my day-to-day life, I'm a software engineer, and I've done a fair bit of hobbyist game development, particularly an Unreal Engine, going back to the Unreal Developer Kit, and even before that to map editing in Unreal Tournament 2004. I've done a few game jams, and I have some long-term projects that will likely never see the light of day because I've got a lot of hobbies and game dev takes a massive amount of time. I'm saying all of this to explain that while I don't have any insider information about Palia that I can share, I do kind of know what I'm talking about, and I'm hoping that this base of knowledge will help explain this situation. This part gets a tad technical, so you can skip ahead to the timestamp below if you want to get straight on to the part about the cheats. So games are often built on top of existing engines because it usually gives you the most matured and developed framework to build your creation on, and it saves a ton of time. Think of it like editing a video in iMovie. Sure, you could write a program yourself that can edit movies, but that would require a lot of specific expertise and a lot of time. Palia is built on the Unreal Engine, which means there's certain things you can assume about how it works. For example, every object in the game world, from the rocks and bugs and characters to invisible barriers and various virtual cameras your view is rendered from, all of these are U-objects or unreal objects within the game engine. Different values that describe the object and how it acts in the world, things like running speed or health for the Cernux, for example, or the tree you're chopping down, or how an object is scaled in size relative to the world. These are properties that the object has. Because Unreal Engine is built in a certain way, people know generally how these objects and properties will be crunched down into the binary code of a game. Essentially, this information gets turned into a code, and if you know the template for how the code was made, you can figure out where in the code the data is stored. When an Unreal Engine game is run, these values are loaded into your computer's RAM so that they can be accessed and used within the game. If you know how and where to look, you can use a program to hook into that data and adjust it. That's how trainers and cheats for many games work, going all the way back to the Game Genie and Game Shark. They allow access to the values in memory. There's a somewhat simple way of preventing this, to some extent, in games with online functionality. See, there's a server and a client side to those games. The client is the program that you're running, your copy of the game. The server is what you connect to. It collects and shares the information about what everyone else is doing. Typically, these online games give the server authority over what's happening. You do something on your client side, and that sends that action to the server, and the server verifies that it's legal and valid, and then sends that data to everyone else. Clients in these cases will sometimes use prediction methods to give the impression of smoother movement. If someone is moving in a direction, the game will keep them moving that way until an update comes through to change their movement. This can lead to rubber banding or glitching if the client goes too long without an update. Another way to prevent the client from having values modified is some form of anti-cheat, which is a separate program that tries to prevent cheats from being run, or some other way to ensure that values are consistent and not being modified. Without any official discussion on this from S6 that I'm aware of, the best assumption I have is that the devs didn't consider this a competitive game and therefore didn't worry about people messing around with cheats. There doesn't seem to be any of the things I mentioned before to prevent cheating in this game, and sure enough, people quickly created some tools or found out how to use existing tools to change values in the game. Despite how this might play out in an online shooter or a combat-oriented MMO, it's not really possible for other players to do anything that impacts you. However, they can travel pretty freely and quickly through the map and gather all the resources up before anyone else has a chance to, and they can use those exploits and cheats to get tons of gold and other items that require gathering. I admit that during a previous phase of Palia testing, I did some data mining into the somewhat unprotected files of the game to see what features might be coming, and I did tell S6 that I was doing that at the time. And I looked into the feasibility of using certain client-side cheats before the game went out to a wider audience. This again was just to explore and find out some new info, but I made a choice back then that I now regret. I assumed that the ability for me to do these things was because it was in an early testing phase and it would be changed before Palia was released to the world. That meant that I didn't write up and submit the detailed reports on the potential cheating concerns that I now believe I should have, and the game did very little to thwart those potential cheaters. I guess it goes with being cozy, they didn't even make it unpleasant for people to find an exploit. What about the reports of everyone getting all of their most valuable items stolen? Well, let's look at this thoroughly. There was a bug that I felt most likely came from network errors and heavy load. I've seen online games before where I've loaded up with like the wrong skin or incorrect gear because a server had enough load on it where info and packets got twisted up. In the case of Palia, something cropped up in beta where sometimes you'd arrive at your housing plot and find an entire other player's housing plot overlaid on top of it. Houses clipped together, all their stuff scattered everywhere. The easy fix for that was to leave your housing plot and return to it, where the loading process from the server would happen again and clear things up. However, some people suggested that if you ended up in this scenario, you'd be able to not only do things like water their crops, but potentially harvest them, and some people claimed that you could also take furniture and other things from the other player that were left lying around. The story began to spiral somewhat, and combined with the spreading news of client-side hacks, soon I was hearing that malicious hack boys could fly from Palia's twin moons and directly onto your plot, even if you were logged in but playing in another part of the game, and from there they could steal all of your wheat and even access your personal storage, leaving you with nothing. This seemed inaccurate to me. I guess that's the best way to put it. For one, the way the map always loaded in for me and then all of my stuff suggested that my lot wasn't just sitting around somewhere waiting for me to teleport fully rendered in on everyone on the server's game world. But also, I was having difficulty finding reports of this actually happening to people. And so was S6, as it turns out. They put out a call for people to enter tickets if it happened to them so that they could investigate the logs and find out what was allowing this. In the end, they reported hearing from about 10 people, and half of those was actually the house merging issue. Long story short, it doesn't seem like anyone is supermanning around Palia servers hoovering up all the refer a friend bonus items, but there are still plenty of client-side cheats accessible that hopefully they will lock down shortly. Anti-cheat systems can be decidedly non-cozy, so who knows how they'll manage it, maybe a check against the server for movement speed. As I'm making this video, Palia is currently in a downtime to try to address the house merging issue with a hotfix. If you see someone cheating, try to get them to talk and chat so you can get their username and report them. Now a quick channel update. The unthinkable happened and somehow I became a YouTube partner? I'm now earning my very own small stack of pennies from all of the ads you have to watch. I never planned for this, and I'm so happy that over 1,000 of you have liked my content enough to subscribe. Thank you so much, and I promise I'll keep making more videos about Palia and other games. I've got a few things coming down the pipe this week, including some house tours in Palia and a look at another cozy game early in its development. What would you like to see from this channel in the future? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, have a great day.